All right. Setting the intention to connect to my spirit guides so that I can ask a few questions about death and all of that process. All right. I feel like butterflies and unconditional love in my heart. Connecting to a male alien Arcturian. All right. It feels like they're saying, like, what are your questions? And I'm kind of asking, do you cover this? Is this okay? Like human transition, death? Yes. Okay, they do. So my first question was, when we die, I'm curious about like being at peace. Is everybody at peace when they die? Yes. Everybody, when they leave their body, a weight has kind of been lifted in the way of they're not feeling the densities and stuff of earth because they're not like part of it anymore. So they're saying that being part of earth is kind of like being in the body. When spirits come down to earth, they don't feel like the same heavy and weight and stuff. I'm saying that that's interesting because what about souls and stuff that are tormented and all of that? What do you kind of have to say about that? Okay, that's not really like an earth frequency, so it's kind of confusing coming out of my mouth. They're just downloading me with the thoughts. I understand it. So we are here on earth, this circle earth planet, and the earth has this wasn't by me. The earth has its own vibration, its own physics, its own kind of guideline, laws, sets, whatever, and dimensions. When entities can come onto earth, it's a different kind of dimension. So I understand, it's just hard to explain. Can you explain it better? Help me out here. All right. It's not as if these tormented souls are stuck. They're just in their own dimension where, yes, they're on earth, but no, they're not like a part of earth and like the different kinds of frequencies that we experience here. We experience a heaviness that's different than their dimension. Our heaviness is weight on our shoulders and stuff like that. And the tormented souls and stuff that you're saying, it's almost just like being in a replay, like in a repeat kind of thing. So yes, there are entities, is a word that you're using, that they're in a dimension where they can appear, they're next to us, just like the spirit world. The spirit world isn't up here. The spirit world is kind of all over and all around. I want to talk about that. And kind of like close to us and next to us. You're saying that it can be. So different kinds of dimensions, like hell and heaven, let's just say that, can be close to us, can be next to us. And only when we are kind of interacting with that, feeling that, being on that vibration. But you said a different word. You said like that connection, that closeness, that like bridge is when we can kind of experience that, and when that can kind of like interfere with us. So you're saying like the work that I'm doing, the spirit world is close to me because I'm inviting it in, because I'm like allowed to be on that vibration, that frequency. I want to talk about, I mean, it's not my questions, but what about, so people, when they're getting possessed and things, is this true? What's going on there? Yeah, same thing. Just as if somebody, what was the word you just said? The opposite of possession. Just as if somebody can be enlightened, they can be possessed. Being so close to this kind of darkness and this energy. This is when there's something close to them and next to them, and this can kind of happen. I'm just kind of filling in the spaces while we're telepathically talking about something else. I was asking about like innocent people, how when like this happens to them, like I saw a TV show about somebody who was in a hospice nursing home and they were possessed. Why did this kind of happen? Because there were lower frequencies and stuff and energy in the room, and also in their life still attached to them. We're talking about the TV show, and they're saying like in this TV show that was real life or whatever, they had like other kind of attachments. Yeah, they did. I know that now. I remember that. Okay, so let's see. We were talking about this specific person, what was going on in their life and their childhood, and why this kind of happened and stuff like that, and if they were abused and stuff, and they always had like this entity kind of attached to them. So, I mean, you're kind of saying that not an everyday kind of person can get possessed. if they are not believing in that. When people are going through abuse and things like this, they're closer to this, and they're saying, like my friend, somebody, they're closer to this, so they believe in this. They kind of believe in this full circle, that it happens, and it happens to everybody, innocent or not, and nothing really cares, and that there's malicious things that can happen to ordinary people. It's almost just kind of like opening a door up for that. So do you have any advice for people who are going through that? I'm smiling because when I said, do you have any advice? They said, yeah, close the door. Close the door of believing that. Close the door of allowing that to happen. Believing that, so you're not allowing that to happen to you. Probably easier said than done. Do you have more, do you have anything to say about that? Because that does sound easier said than done. If you're experiencing abuse and stuff when you're very, very young, and when you get older and you get possessed, or not just possessed, feeling down and lower negative energies, I asked you if you had anything you wanted to say about that, and what you were saying is more in the way of everything happens for a reason. You wanted to experience that so that you can kind of shift through that, not learn and grow from that situation, but experience that, so you can kind of almost say yeah, I did that in this lifetime, and I conquered that and experienced that. Conquered and experienced that for a bigger reason. Going back, I'm not going back anywhere, going back to whatever, super fast talking telepathic in my head. So when you were showing me that reincarnation and going back to source, which is, God or whatever for a different kind of word, everything not needs or should be experienced, but it's, you used a good word. You sound smarter than me, and I just forget it because my dictionary is not very big. There's a necessity to experience this and this and this and this and this and this and this, so that we can evolve, so that we can kind of keep going and keep growing and keep fixing. But it's not just so we can say yeah, I did that. It's a necessity to move to the next step and the next step. Okay, kind of why events happen, so that history can kind of learn from that and do something with that. I just gave a reading to somebody, a Patreon thing, and they were in the Holocaust. And so you were saying that the Holocaust needed to happen so that moving forward in, 19 whatever, or 2000 whatever, this and this and this would kind of happen. Forget what we were talking about. So my question was being at peace. Is everybody at peace? Yes. No. You said something different. So I'm just going to ask you, is everybody at peace when they kind of transition? They are at peace in the way of there's going to be something lifted, the heavy densities of Earth. What they mean by this is we're no longer a match for this frequency. This frequency, which isn't always bad, but it's not a like a heavenly kind of spirit thing. I was looking at his butt. I hate that. And so, yes, everybody is in a sense at peace when they do transition, because they're not in this body anymore. They go up. Do they go up, or do they sometimes go down? They're saying that, someone just texted me. So do people sometimes go down? Yeah. When they really need to work through something. And it's not always, suicide things. Talking about that, because I'm kind of saying that's horrible. Are we talking about hell? It's not so much a hell, because we've already talked about this and they're showing me the same kind of things, but it's more of a learning transition period of, if you're done with your lessons from this life and what you needed to learn and grow from, then you can just go and focus on that and work on whatever you want to work on, and doing next review stuff, next life review stuff, which is one of my questions. But some people still have an inner kind of turmoil where they're seeing their life play out and they still need to internally work on themselves. So that goes into my next question about being stuck. Are people stuck on Earth? Can you just kind of talk a little bit about that? Yeah? Okay, they can be stuck because they're choosing to be. So they're not stuck in their bodies. They're not stuck in the Earth density. They are stuck because they're choosing to be stuck. Stuck is a bad word. Some people are still here. Some spirits are still here because they're choosing to be. And they're saying this is more often than I think or than I realize, because when I do my readings, the loved one is with the person, like with me, because I call them to us. But sometimes more than I think, the loved ones are staying with the people and sticking with the people. They're like choosing to do this. So when I help somebody transition, it was because she wasn't realizing that there wasn't anything that she needed or could possibly do. And so that's why she was able to like go at peace. The reason that I helped her go at peace is what you're saying. It's not that she could just like go and take off and be happy. It was because it was going to be like a never ending kind of thing. And it was almost like her not moving on. It makes sense to me. It wasn't like neither like good or bad. It was just, you can go and work on something else, or you can go and you know that you can shift somewhere, because it's almost like you're just being a shadow and what you're trying to do isn't like doing anything. So it was just like unnecessary for her to be there. So people being stuck. Some people are stuck and choosing to be with their family. Stuck. They're not saying the word stuck. That's me. Some people are still here choosing to be with their families because they're helping them. They are helping them. In that case, the person wasn't. And they're just showing me, you know, kids and moms and family members sometimes just overshadowing everybody and just, you know, waiting around for 100 years just to make sure everything's going to be okay. This isn't a bad thing. They want us to stop thinking in terms of being stuck. All right, I understand that. And it's like their choice. It's their decision. Just as if some people make decisions that they're not really like thinking full circle about. I just lost my train of thought. Was I not supposed to say that? What happened? I like completely went blank. Okay. I'm not going to share that knowledge. Anything else there is to say about stuck? Oh, well, I mean, I kind of remember. You were saying that just as if people can make like silly decisions and just, you know, doing something that's not necessarily necessary, they still have the free will to make that decision. And that's kind of what's going on. It's very much free will. You have absolutely all the free will. I wanted to ask another question that's not on my list about haunted places and entities and energies and spirits being stuck in a place. Why does this happen? Because they're not kind of able to move on and come into like realization what had happened and not just like wanting to accept that. So why am I just getting all of this information? I was under the impression that energies and stuff, they can't like be stuck in haunted locations, but they can be because they're choosing to be. Because I've been watching a lot of haunted TV shows, when there's hauntings and stuff going on, it's almost like a summoning kind of thing. So when I do my readings and I say I want to talk to this person, they kind of come over and interact with us and we do a reading together. You're saying that when there's a haunted like jail or something like this, that it's the same thing. Like, oh, you want us to come? We're going to come. Can we talk more about that, like haunted stuff and why that happens? Some things are dark and malicious and just misunderstood and hurting and like wanting to bring a light and get help is the main kind of message, is what you're saying. So when there's like these haunted TV shows and like the reality stuff and people are getting hurt, it's because like somebody needs to kind of help them. Could that be me? You think so? Like I'm capable of doing that? That's good to know. I would like to do that because it doesn't scare me. At least I don't think it scares me. I've brought a lot of bad things from people's houses and like worked with them. Is that true? Did I help? Yeah. Okay. Yeah. You think that's a calling for me? Okay, we're being crazy. Yeah. Okay, so I think you answered my question about that. There is repeats and replays of stagnant kind of energy, but it's not as if there's a soul or a person being stuck there. It's like just this energy playing out. For example, like a slamming door and a slamming door and a slamming door. It's not as if a ghost or a spirit is slamming the door. It's just like the energy is so high. So when something happens that like triggers the person like to be somewhere, no, that's not what you're saying. Sorry. The energy is like so high that like leftover residual energy, that this door is still slamming, but it's not necessarily a ghost. So I don't understand that. I was saying, how can stuff just move on its own? And you're saying that like, because stuff can move on its own, because it's just energy. It's nothing is really stuck. Nothing is really standing still. When there is residual, I love you so much. You're just like repeating the same thing. When there is residual energy, this is how stuff can move. This is maybe how my TV can make noises this whole time. This is how like doors can close and things, and it's not a spirit going like that out of anger. Like every time. That's just an example. Okay, I guess that answers my question. Why does my TV go off? Oh, it's not as if people are standing by my TV and turning it on and off and on and off. It's just like the energy is so high and stuff. So when I connect to the spirit world, hold on. What's going on? I don't know why that's making me emotional. It's almost as if my whole house becomes like a portal and an invitation, but a safe invitation. All right, that's a little bit intimidating. You serious? Okay, I feel like I'm being crazy. I know that I'm recording this. I'm probably going to share some of my Patreons, hopefully only, and not really all of YouTube. So I thought that I was just doing psychic readings and we're talking in this corner and that's where everybody is. You're saying that everybody is downstairs, but it's almost, it gives me like goosebumps, butterflies, like heebie-jeebies. You're saying that like everywhere is like free range for spirits and stuff. I don't know why it's tripping me out so much. They're showing like, here's my house. Here's like the first floor and everything that's going on. It's like lifted up into the spirit world, like a Jamie's open for business sign, but only like certain people can come in. As the TV is clicking. That's just insane. I don't know why it's so insane to me. I just thought like spirits were over here, everybody stay over here, not like crazy. That's why I clean my house though. All right. God, that trips me the fuck out. All right, so I don't know why I can't get over that. Let's just do it. So I want to talk about buried and people who are not being buried, like resting at peace. And are they actually at peace when there's not a proper, memorial and all of this for them? Okay, so do you really want me to say that? All right. So there is a sense of they're not super at peace because of the family and more like the mourning kind of like process that needs to happen. It's just like a little bit like unsettling for them, and the way of Native Americans understood this and knew this. I'm getting like really confused. So when people, and I also I wanted you to say like, no, everything was fine, everybody's at peace, as soon as they kind of transition, which is kind of true, but it's like an unsettling kind of, mostly for the family, mostly for closure, but like for the family's sake, like the loved ones in spirit who are perfectly fine if they're not buried or whatever. There's like this wanting to like help and like get that, like for the family, which I guess makes sense. So my question was, are people at peace when they're not buried? And yes, they are, but the family is so upset about this that they're like not at peace for the sake of the family. That makes sense. That makes me feel a little bit better. Can we talk about being buried versus being cremated, if that's okay? You're saying like, yes, that's fine. There's not really a huge difference there. Is there anything you can like say about that or want to say about that? What about being turned into a tree? I want to get turned into a tree. It's like in your heart, like if that's okay with you, then that's okay with you. If that's like, just saying like that, like when you transition in spirit, if that's okay, if that's cool, if that's kosher, then you are at peace. There's not like a big difference there. So what about people who were like burned at the stake and stuff for this? You're saying like, yeah, there is peace. They're having to like work through stuff and like the lessons and stuff that they learned. And I know that sounds bad, but when people are murdered, it's kind of like a karma thing is what you're saying about working through like why this happened and love and light stuff and that I don't really want to get into. Okay, so It's more of everybody is at peace, and especially like even further at peace if they feel in their heart that I can move on. I can move on and I can rest and my family is good. The last question that I had was, what's everybody doing up in the spirit world? Because when I call them in for readings, they're standing with me. Sometimes they show me that they're cleaning their house and that they're doing their routine and that they're visiting people. It honestly looks like The Good Place, which is what I saw before I even saw the TV show The Good Place. Like, it looks like that. So what are people doing like in the spirit world? I know that you're saying, I mean, you said it before I even finished my question, which I think is rude, by the way, but that's perfectly fine. I'm just letting you know for the third time. Let me finish and then answer. So you were saying that everyone's doing like a bunch of different things. Some people are helping their family. Some people are pulling strings for their family. Some people are going about their own kind of daily life, which I guess is my real question. Like, what are they doing? And then some people are doing life reviews where they are reviewing everything, which takes a very long time, which is interesting because I didn't think that there was like time and stuff. So you're saying like it doesn't take a long time, like hours. It just takes a long, like, energy amount of time. You're going to give me a headache again if we start talking about time and space. So it takes a lot of effort. It takes a lot of, you already said energy. It's just consuming in the way of, it can go on for a while doing a life review. Okay. Because it's like slow. I kind of understand that. For the sake of this is 20 minutes long, I wanted to just ask you like what are people doing when they're not doing life reviews. They're doing what makes them happy. That's all you're gonna give me? They're doing what makes them happy and like what they want to be doing, the same as us. It's not as if, you know, we're on a mission to do this and they do this. They're just doing what makes them happy. If that's knitting or sewing or being with loved ones or being with animals, they're still kind of living, but it's different. And there is kind of an end goal to like what's next, and it's not always necessarily like a next life and next life, because not everybody is going to reincarnate or is meant to reincarnate, which is great. I think that that's interesting. If they're not kind of reincarnating, then what are they kind of doing? They're working through stuff and they're just like living their best afterlife, I guess is what you're saying. All right, that was interesting. Thank you for answering my questions and being crazy with me and letting me be crazy and Jesus.